I think he had a lot of success. I mean, I don't know how many guys you can say that won the Heisman Trophy and covered kicks at the end of their career. He was on the punt team. He was on the, kickoff return team. And then he did some things, to help Minnesota that year. I remember that first game he played when he went to, Minnesota, and then he did a tremendous job. I remember the first game he played in Dallas. I remember, him running over Harry Carson was like unbelievable. He and Harry, and you never saw that happen. It only happened once, and he did it. So.
What did Harry say after that? Because that's what sticks in my mind from that game when I think of that 1986 20.
Well, Harry said after that game, he said to me, "How come you didn't tell me that he was like that?" I said, "I told you, I kept taking him for granted. I mean, I say when he wants to, he can bring it, and he brought it on that play with Harry. But he was the only one I ever saw do it, Harry Carson like that."
Herschel Walker was, probably the rarest combination of size and speed I've ever seen in my life. His size-speed ratio was off the charts. I mean, he had world-class speed literally on a 220, 225-pound body. And just a genetic phenomenon, a freak of nature. There's no question about it, no other way to put it. Definitely a smoke-the-hole guy. If he hit a crease and wasn't rerouted and had to worry about contact balance and everything, it was just a unique experience to see him run, and people take angles to try to intersect him and come up 5 yards short because of that speed. He was incredible. I mean, the power that he would generate with that size-speed ratio was astounding.
And were you surprised he didn't have better? Well, actually, he had good numbers when he was with Dallas, but he wasn't as dominant. Like he had 2,500 yards in 1985 with you guys. Are you surprised he didn't become that dominant runner, at least making a rush at 2,000 yards at some point? Because he did so many different things, receiving, catching, and returning kickoffs, though.
Yeah, I think you look at his all-purpose numbers, and I know he was in the top 10. I'm not sure if he still is, but I think he was in the top 10 in NFL history for all-purpose yards when you consider his return yards, his receiving yards, his rushing yards. And that's where, he showed his versatility. I think the biggest thing probably that Herschel lacked was the natural, he was not a great change of direction, cutback guy. He couldn't do it at full speed like a Barry Sanders. I mean, he was a different style of runner than Barry Sanders was. Herschel wasn't as fluid a cutback kind of guy,
Talk about how the teammates embraced Walker. We know the story, obviously, with Doug Flutie in '86, how he came in mid-season, and the Bears were kind of they were loyal to their man Jim McMahon. How did the Cowboys, and how do you remember the Cowboys embracing Herschel Walker at the time?
Herschel was a little different, and he did things like talk about himself in the third person a little bit, and and he would go. He'd talk about the FBI stuff, and he would go dance with the symphony, doing some ballet stuff, and he wasn't. It wasn't like a Ricky Williams situation of a year ago, but
he didn't have the passion though of a football player.
No, and the thing about Herschel, and I always liked Herschel and got along with him very well, but Herschel, I think, was a much better athlete than he was a football player. Mm-hmm. Herschel was a real good college runner, a great college runner in an I formation. Where he could see certain things, and he had a fullback blocking for him. But when he got into the pros, and sometimes they used a split backfield, there weren't too many one-back sets in Dallas back then, but they'd split them sometimes, and there were some things. And Herschel had a little trouble avoiding contact. He didn't ever seem that he wanted to avoid contact. He liked running people over. Bill Bates, who had a tremendous career for the Cowboys as a safety,
sure.
Played at Tennessee when Herschel was at Georgia, and for many years when Herschel was here, Bill got kidded about a very famous Georgia-Tennessee game where Herschel just ran him over, and Bates was one of the best players in the SEC at the time, and Herschel just ran him over in the open field. But if you put Herschel in the open field one-on-one with a safety, Herschel would find him and try to run him over, and he just didn't seem to have the instinct for making someone miss like he might instead of trying to make contact and overpower the guy.